Greetings Warhammer enthusiast. Before you stands a voice assistant of the podcast, dedicated to spreading the greater good. If you find this information useful, please do not hesitate to leave a like and subscribe. Together, we shall explore the depths of the Warhammer universe and share in its wonders. In the shadowy recesses of the universe, the sinister Drukhari lurk, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Hailing from the twisted depths of Commoragh, the dark city, these malevolent beings thrive on pain and suffering. As they plot and scheme within their labyrinthine realm, the Drukhari emerge from the webway to raid unsuspecting worlds, spreading terror and anguish in their quest for eternal power.
The Drukhari, or Dark Eldar, are a cruel and malevolent offshoot of the Aeldari race, an ancient and highly advanced species of elf-like humanoids that inhabit the Warhammer 40k universe. Driven by their insatiable lust for pain and suffering, they prey upon other races, capturing and enslaving countless victims to sate their dark desires. Dark Eldar, like their craft-world Eldar counterparts, are tall, slender humanoids with tapered ears and keen eyes. They share many physical traits with the rest of the Eldar race, but there are key differences that set them apart due to their unique environment and lifestyle. One of the most noticeable differences is the almost translucent quality of a Dark Eldar's skin. This is a direct result of living in Commoragh, a city hidden within the webway, where sunlight is scarce. The lack of exposure to natural light gives their skin an eerie, pale appearance. Despite their seemingly delicate appearance, Dark Eldar possess incredible strength and reflexes, even surpassing those of their craft-world Eldar kin. Their agility and dexterity are renowned, as evidenced by accounts from the Everless massacre, where recordings had to be slowed down significantly to follow the movements of individual Kabalites, as they mercilessly slaughtered Imperial civilians. Dark Eldar are capable of incredible feats, such as dodging lasgun shots and kicking grenades back at their enemies with ease. In the gladiatorial arenas, a single Wych can outmatch 10 human warriors without breaking a sweat. Their heightened senses also grant them exceptional vision, enabling them to see perfectly well in complete darkness. However, Dark Eldar psykers are a rarity. The psychic abilities that are innate to the Eldar race have significantly diminished in the Dark Eldar, partially due to their emphasis on physical prowess. Additionally, using psychic powers within Commoragh is extremely dangerous, as it would draw the unwanted attention of Slaanesh, the chaos god that feeds on Eldar souls. As a result, the use of psychic abilities is one of the few things strictly forbidden in Dark Eldar society. The origins of the Dark Eldar are intrinsically linked to the fall of the Eldar, a catastrophic event that led to the near annihilation of their entire race. To fully understand the fall, it is essential to comprehend the unique nature of the Eldar mind and soul. Eldar minds are incredibly complex and possess heightened senses, allowing them to perceive extraordinary levels of detail. Their emotions are intense and their intelligence is unmatched when compared to humans. This heightened perception of the universe also extends to their souls, which shine brightly in the warp and can influence it more than most other races. All Eldar possess latent psychic abilities and can develop these powers through training. The strength of their souls played a significant role in their downfall. Before the fall, the Eldar boasted a vast, galaxy-spanning empire that encompassed millions of worlds. At its height, it was more powerful than even the Imperium of Man. The Eldar enjoyed a period of relative peace, with barbarian races like the Orcs kept at bay and human xenophobia yet to emerge. The Tyranid hive fleets were still unknown, and the ancient foes of the Eldar, the C'tan and Necrons, remained dormant after their prior defeat. Life on the Eldar worlds during their empire's zenith was utopian, with highly advanced machines handling all labor and manufacturing tasks. This left the Eldar free to pursue more aesthetic and intellectual interests. However, the abundance of leisure and the lack of challenges eventually led to the Eldar becoming indolent and decadent. Over millennia, they began to explore the arts of pleasure, descending further into hedonism. As tradition and order disintegrated in the name of unrestricted pleasure-seeking, pleasure cults emerged. These sects dedicated themselves to attaining the highest levels of hedonistic sensation, and their ceremonies and practices grew increasingly wild, eventually involving violence and self-sacrifice. Some Eldar, disillusioned by the debauchery, abandoned their homeworlds for the unspoiled maiden worlds or sought refuge in the newly constructed craft worlds, leaving the pleasure cults to their madness. The Webway, an ancient network of hidden passageways within the warp, was initially created by the Old Ones, a long-vanished and immensely powerful race. Over time, the Old Ones passed their knowledge of the Webway and the technology used to construct it to the Eldar. The Eldar, in turn, harnessed these teachings to create an extensive network of navigable tunnels that allowed them to travel vast distances across the galaxy without entering real space. At the height of the Eldar Empire, the Webway served as a safe and efficient means of transportation, connecting all their worlds and enabling their starships to move rapidly from one end of the galaxy to the other. This pangalactic network of tunnels revolutionized the Eldar's ability to traverse the galaxy, granting them an unprecedented level of mobility and strategic advantage. Port Commoragh became one of the greatest Webway port cities due to its primary nodal port position within the Webway. This allowed the port city to transport fleets to the most vital Eldar planets and access the far-flung corners of real space, making it the most important location in the entire Webway. As a result, Commoragh was considered too valuable to belong to any one aspect of the Eldar Empire and was granted autonomy. This autonomy, however, placed Commoragh outside the jurisdiction of the great Eldar councils of that time. Consequently, the port city attracted individuals who wished to hide their deeds. Over time, Commoragh expanded, accumulating wealth and influence, which allowed it to absorb other locations within the Webway, such as port cities, private estates, and sub-realms. Each expansion made Commoragh even larger and more impressive, feeding upon the plundered wealth of these absorbed areas of the Webway. Isolated within the Webway, Commoragh itself became a haven for pleasure cults and a breeding ground for increasingly depraved acts. Within the Webway, Commoragh is a vast, complex, and sprawling entity of unimaginable scale. Instead of being a single, unified city, it is more like a colossal collection of satellite realms and cities, all interconnected by numerous portals and hidden pathways. This structure makes the Dark City a loose-knit assembly of far-flung nodes spread across the passageways of the Webway. The most densely clustered concentrations exist in a reality scattered across the galaxy, with some points separated by thousands of light-years. However, dimensional gateways serve as shortcuts, linking these points and enabling the immense distances between the sub-realms to be crossed with just a single step. Runic wards protect Commoragh from being breached by outsiders. Commorragh's power source is known as the Ilmir, or Stolen Suns. Before the fall, the Eldar brought stars from the Materium into Webway subrealms above Commoragh, providing the city with a virtually endless supply of energy. This act of theft caused the solar systems from which the suns were taken to freeze and die, but the Eldar showed no concern for the consequences. These stolen suns are a testament to the immense power and capabilities of the ancient Eldar. They reveal the extent to which they were willing to go to ensure the sustainability and prosperity of their city within the Webway. The Ilmir not only provided near-limitless energy for Commoragh, but also demonstrated the Eldar's mastery over both the Materium and the Webway. The complex structure of Commoragh, along with its stolen suns, adds to the mystery and allure of the Dark City. Its labyrinthine nature, combined with the numerous interconnected realms and cities, make it a formidable stronghold. It is not only difficult to navigate for outsiders, but also nearly impossible to breach due to the runic wards in place. Moreover, the intricate and deceptive layout of the city serves Eldar well in their pursuit of secrecy, hiding their deeds, and evading any potential threats. The many rumors and tales about Commoragh create an air of uncertainty and fear surrounding the city, further enhancing its reputation as a dangerous and enigmatic place. Meanwhile, the consequences of the Eldar's hedonism began to manifest within the warp. Over millennia, the excesses of the Eldar civilization left a massive imprint on the psychic realm of chaos. Their collective hedonism gradually shaped a power of chaos, which grew stronger and more defined over thousands of years. Eventually, this force sparked into a malevolent intelligence with an insatiable hunger for Eldar souls. This marked the birth of Slaanesh, the chaos god of excess. The birth of Slaanesh was a long process that coincided with humanity's age of strife. When Slaanesh finally emerged, the consequences were apocalyptic and sudden. A colossal psychic shockwave swept across the galaxy, stripping the souls of nearly all Eldar and feeding them to the newborn Chaos God. Few Eldar survived this catastrophe. Many of those who did were driven mad, their minds caught between the real world and the chaotic insanity of the warp. The birth of Slaanesh also created a massive warp rift that engulfed the entire Eldar Empire, forming the Eye of Terror. This event, known as the Fall of the Eldar, marked the end of their once great civilization and left the surviving Eldar scattered and struggling to survive in a galaxy now filled with enemies and the constant threat of their newly created chaos god, Slaanesh. The inhabitants of Commoragh were spared from Slaanesh's hunger. Although the webway suffered extensive damage, the denizens of Commoragh endured and refused to repent for their hedonistic ways. They discovered that Slaanesh was still slowly consuming their souls, but found that by absorbing the pain and torment of others, they could rejuvenate themselves and escape death. As long as they could feed on the suffering of others regularly, the Eldar within the webway became immune to the passage of time. The thirst and its impact on Dark Eldar society play a pivotal role in shaping their culture, customs, and behaviors. It is a relentless and inescapable affliction that pushes them to indulge in ever more depraved acts in order to satisfy their soul-consuming hunger. The power of Slaanesh hangs like a dark cloud over the Dark Eldar, threatening to consume them entirely if they fail to replenish their soul essence. The process of soul consumption is gruesome and often involves torture, as the Dark Eldar believe that inflicting pain and terror enhances the quality and potency of the souls they harvest. This sadistic ritual not only prolongs their lives and restores their youth, but also provides them with a twisted form of pleasure and satisfaction. As a result, the act of tormenting others is deeply ingrained in Dark Eldar culture and is reflected in the many facets of their society. The sadistic tendencies of the Dark Eldar are not only a means of survival, but also serve as a cornerstone of their culture. Entertainment and social status in Dark Eldar society often revolve around acts of cruelty and torture. For example, the Wych arenas of Commoragh are not only places for the Wyches to hone their combat skills, but also function as grand spectacles where the suffering of their victims is put on display for the enjoyment of the masses. The pervasive influence of the thirst has also shaped the architecture and design of the Dark City. Commoragh is a vast and labyrinthine metropolis filled with countless torture chambers, gladiatorial arenas, and slave pens, all intended to facilitate the Dark Eldar's need for souls and their love for inflicting pain. Furthermore, the thirst has led to the development of a highly competitive and cutthroat society. In the constant struggle to secure a steady supply of souls, Dark Eldar often find themselves pitted against one another in a ruthless game of politics, deception, and assassination. Loyalty and trust are scarce commodities in Commoragh, as everyone is driven by their own self-preservation and the desire to rise in power and influence. Dark Eldar share the basic physical traits of the Eldar race, such as their tall, slender frames and sharp features. However, the centuries of conflict and the oppressive darkness of Commoragh have given rise to distinct variations that make them all the more fearsome. Their skin has taken on a nearly translucent quality due to the absence of sunlight, an eerie feature that further emphasizes their sinister nature. The senses of the Dark Eldar have sharpened over time, allowing them to perceive their surroundings with uncanny clarity, even in total darkness. This enhanced perception serves them well both within the dimly lit confines of the Dark City, and during their brutal raids upon unsuspecting worlds. For over 10 millennia, the dark and twisted city of Commoragh has stood, a testament to the cunning and ruthlessness of the Dark Eldar who call it home. Throughout its long and bloody history, the city has seen countless power struggles, betrayals, and invasions, each shaping its destiny in different ways. At the heart of this web of intrigue stands one figure who has towered over the city and its inhabitants for untold centuries, Asdrubael Vect, Supreme Lord of the Cabal of the Black Heart. Born into slavery in the twisted depths of Commoragh, Asdrubael Vect was a lowly but cunning figure who refused to accept his fate. He was determined to rise above his station, seeking to conquer the treacherous city that had forged him. Through a combination of guile, ruthlessness, and sheer determination, Vect navigated the shadowy pathways and dangerous alliances that characterized the Dark City, forever seeking power and influence. Originally, Dark Eldar society was centered around a small number of noble houses, which existed both before and after the fall. These aristocratic families were deeply involved in the hedonism that eventually led to the fall. They ruled from their own province within the central mass of Commoragh. Elitism permeated their way of life, and the noble houses would actively seek out and eliminate any threats to their position. In their struggle for dominance, they fought against the solar cults and emerged victorious. After years of intrigue and calculated moves, Vect founded the Cabal of the Black Heart, a group that would soon become an unstoppable force within Commoragh. The arrogant nobility of the city, blinded by their own pride and a sense of entitlement, failed to recognize the threat posed by this lowborn upstart. By the time they realized the danger, it was far too late. Vect had already amassed considerable power, skillfully uniting the various subrealms of the Dark City under his rule. In a daring and ambitious move, Vect orchestrated the capture of the Salamander's Space Marine strike cruiser, Forgehammer. This brazen act provoked a furious response from the Imperium, which launched an invasion of Commoragh itself in retaliation. As the Space Marine forces descended upon the city, wreaking havoc and destruction, the Lords of Commoragh found themselves targeted by these vengeful warriors. Caught in the crossfire, the nobility was decimated, and their once great houses lay in ruins. Amidst the chaos, Vect emerged as the undisputed ruler of the Dark City. His relentless pursuit of power had brought him from the lowest depths of slavery to the highest echelons of Dark Eldar society. Now firmly entrenched as the master of Commoragh, Vect's iron grip on the city would remain unchallenged for millennia, even as new threats arose and the fate of the city hung in the balance. This marked a turning point in Dark Eldar society, as the Kabals rose to prominence and replaced the old aristocracy with a new system of power based on force and meritocracy. In many respects, the rise of the Kabals mirrored Vect's own ascent to power. Displaced by the Kabals, many surviving noble families reformed themselves into Kabals, but they have not forgotten or forgiven Vect for usurping their power. Several powerful Kabals have risen to prominence in Commoragh, including the Black Heart, Flayed Skull, Obsidian Rose, Poisoned Tongue, Last Hatred, Blooded Claw, Dying Sun, Falling Moon, the Severed Iron Thorn, and Broken Sigil. Under the Kabalite system, power is not inherited, but taken by force. This brutal meritocracy has shaped Dark Eldar society in numerous ways, creating a culture of ruthless ambition and constant struggle for power. The Kabals have become the driving force behind the Dark Eldar's many atrocities and acts of piracy across the galaxy, ensuring their enduring legacy of terror and suffering. Wych Cults are specialized organizations within Dark Eldar society that focus on training and nurturing gladiatorial fighters known as Wyches or Hecatarii. These fighters are highly skilled in the art of close combat and are adept at using a variety of weapons and techniques to defeat their opponents, often in a brutally efficient and stylish manner. Their prowess in battle makes them highly sought after by Kabals, who will employ the warriors of a cult to provide additional muscle and expertise during raids. While Wych Cults primarily serve as training grounds for these elite fighters, they are also capable of conducting raids on their own, albeit less frequently than Kabals due to the higher mortality rate of cult members. Such raids showcase the deadly abilities of the Wyches and serve as a means for other Dark Eldar to join the fight alongside the cult, albeit for a price. By participating in these raids, the Dark Eldar are given the opportunity to witness firsthand the prowess and finesse of the Wyches, further solidifying their reputation as fearsome and skilled combatants. Wych Cults are structured around a strict hierarchy, with the most skilled and experienced Wyches leading the organization. The leadership of a Wych Cult is responsible for overseeing training regimens, managing resources, and ensuring that the cult maintains a steady supply of fighters to meet the demands of the Kabals they serve. In addition to their martial skills, Wyches are also known for their acrobatic and athletic abilities, which are honed through rigorous training and practice. These abilities are often showcased during spectacular gladiatorial performances held within the arenas of Commoragh, where Wyches engage in brutal and lethal combat for the entertainment of the Dark Eldar populace. The origins of the Incubi are shrouded in mystery. According to one legend, the order was founded by Ara, the fallen Phoenix Lord of the Striking Scorpions. Some even whisper that Drajar, the Master of Blades, may in fact be Ara himself. Incubi are the most elite warriors in Dark Eldar society. They live solely for the purpose of killing and act as warrior mercenaries. Highly skilled in combat, they are favored by Archons as bodyguards and are extensively employed as enforcers in the city of Commoragh. Many pleasure dens or smugglers' spires have been brutally destroyed by a host of Incubi, sending a clear message to their employers' rivals. In Dark Eldar society, one's place in the hierarchy can often only be improved by assassinating the person above them. As a result, most Cabal leaders find it too dangerous to entrust their lives to a member of the same Cabal, as the bodyguard would likely have ulterior motives for not adequately protecting the Archon. Incubi, however, are entirely neutral in matters of Cabal hierarchy and adhere strictly to the code of their contract and their Clavex leader. Their elite warrior status makes them perfect bodyguards, but in Commoragh, even the finest blade can sometimes cut both ways. Incubi train relentlessly within their secretive shrines, honing their skills with a variety of deadly weapons, most notably the Clave, a massive two-handed blade that can cleave through armor and flesh with ease. They wear formidable armor known as the Incubus War Suit, which offers great protection without hindering their agility and speed. Despite their neutrality in matters of Cabal hierarchy, Incubi are not immune to the dark intrigues of Commoragh. They may find themselves entangled in the web of deceit and betrayal that pervades the Dark City, as their formidable skills and loyalty make them valuable assets in the constant struggle for power among the Dark Eldar. The first Haemonculi were the masters of the ancient Eldar Empire. They believe that inflicting pain is the highest form of art, reveling in the screams and wails of agony from their victims. Known as master manipulators of flesh, Haemonculi can create horrific monstrosities and regenerate Dark Eldar slain in battle, as long as enough of the body remains. Due to this unique ability, Dark Eldar of high status often form pacts with Haemonculi, offering them fresh captives for their cruel art in exchange for medical treatment, biological enhancements, and even resurrection. Haemonculi ensure the near immortality of the Dark Eldar who can afford their services, with legends stating they can bring someone back to life from just a severed hand. Haemonculi form factions called Haemonculi Covens that are based throughout the Dark City. These covens and their Haemonculi members are secretly feared by the denizens of Commoragh, as they are well aware of the horrors that await if they cross one of their order. Each Haemonculus considers themselves akin to a god, surrounding themselves with a retinue of grotesque acolytes who obey their every command without hesitation. Many Haemonculi do not wish to touch the ground or involve themselves in physical labor, so they are constantly aided by exotic technologies and a host of abominations such as racks and grotesques. Notorious megalomaniacs, their egos demand the constant subservience of beings they have often created themselves. These servants ensure the Coven's captives are transported, flayed, or dissected as per their master's orders. As masters of flesh crafting, Haemonculi heavily modify their own bodies. Some house their blood, lungs, and heart in a muscle mass sprouting from their shoulders, which may also have secondary limbs. Others replace their blood with searing ichor or even acid. They elongate their spines and vertebrae, transforming them into prehensile bone tails capable of strangling their prey. Bony protrusions from their upper backs frame their heads, adorned with syringes and drug dispensers that connect directly to their spinal sumps. Due to their expertise, Haemonculi are functionally immortal and view death with vengeful glee, knowing they will return to exact retribution. Haemonculi continuously seek new methods to inflict horror upon the Materium's inhabitants. Specific covens, like the Children of Bone, specialize in crafting thin grotesques for battlefield use, while the Coven of the Ebon Sting is renowned for their exceptionally venomous engines of pain. These gruesome horrors and monstrous constructs are responsible for the majority of the killing when a coven conducts a raid. Having lived for thousands of years, Haemonculi observe the planet-wrecking wars of lesser races with mocking amusement. Haemonculi covet knowledge and constantly experiment with different ways to manipulate flesh and pain, their insatiable curiosity driving them to ever greater heights of depravity. They create and perfect various methods of torture, incorporating the most successful ones into their twisted artistry. The Haemonculi's ability to create and control pain, fear, and suffering is unparalleled, making them invaluable allies to the Dark Eldar Kabals. Haemonculi also play a crucial role in ensuring the longevity and survival of the Dark Eldar elite, as they possess the ability to regenerate and resurrect them. The Haemonculi and their covens hold a significant amount of power in Commoragh, as their unique services are sought after by the highest-ranking Dark Eldar. Many Archons and other elite members of Dark Eldar society will go to great lengths to earn the favor of a Haemonculus, offering them slaves, resources, and even other Haemonculi as sacrifices to gain their support and services. Covens frequently engage in complex political machinations and rivalries within Commoragh, using their grotesque creations and torturous methods to assert their influence and control. Despite the competition among covens, They sometimes collaborate when faced with a shared threat or when a mutually beneficial opportunity presents itself. When covens join forces for a raid or other mission, the combined might of their abominations and flesh-crafted creations makes them a truly formidable force, feared and respected by their enemies and allies alike. Apart from the major sub-factions, Dark Eldar society also includes a myriad of smaller gangs and warbands that vie for power and influence within the Dark City. These groups can consist of mercenaries, pirates, and other outcasts who have banded together for mutual protection and gain. They may serve as allies or enemies to the more established factions, depending on the ever-shifting tides of politics and power in Commoragh. Commoragh is not only the heart of the Dark Eldar Empire, but also the center of their raiding activities. From here, countless raiding parties and mercenary bands venture forth into the galaxy, striking fear into the hearts of their enemies and bringing back slaves, resources, and other spoils of war. The Dark Eldar may not control a vast number of planets, but their reach extends far beyond their city, and their influence is felt across the galaxy. Their raids into real space are swift and merciless, utilizing advanced anti-gravity skimmers and the webway's labyrinthine network to strike at unsuspecting targets with lightning speed. Their victims are captured and brought back to Commoragh, where they are subjected to unimaginable tortures, both physical and psychological. The Dark Eldar feed upon the suffering of their captives, rejuvenating their bodies and souls, allowing them to maintain their immortality and evade Slaanesh's grasp. The Dark Eldar's cruel and sadistic nature is reflected in their weaponry and combat tactics. They favor fast and agile units, capable of inflicting devastating damage before disappearing back into the shadows. Their advanced technology includes disintegrator weapons, which reduce their victims to molecular dust, and agonizers, which cause excruciating pain upon contact. This combination of speed, technology, and ruthless efficiency makes the Dark Eldar a deadly adversary in the galaxy. Like their craft world and exodite kin, the Dark Eldar make use of highly advanced technology in various aspects of their society, including warfare, transportation, and communication. This technology encompasses a wide range of devices, such as anti-gravity systems, dark matter weaponry, nanotechnology, and psychic artifacts. However, there are significant differences in the way Dark Eldar technology is produced and utilized when compared to their craft world counterparts, as well as strict prohibitions on the use of psychic powers. The craft world Eldar are known for their unique method of creating technology by psychically growing wraithbone, an advanced, psychically reactive material that serves as the foundation of their technological infrastructure. This process is achieved through the use of bonesingers, Eldar psychers with the ability to shape and grow wraithbone into various structures, vehicles, and weapons. In contrast, the Dark Eldar's technological production is based on more conventional manufacturing processes. These processes likely take place within the dark recesses of their home city of Commoragh, hidden away in the webway. The Dark Eldar make extensive use of their vast slave population to fuel their manufacturing needs, creating a vast production network that churns out advanced weaponry, vehicles, and other technologies. Despite the different approaches to production, the Dark Eldar still manage to develop technology that rivals that of their craft world kin. They possess a deep understanding of the workings of advanced materials, energy manipulation, and the intricacies of Eldar engineering, allowing them to create sophisticated, deadly devices. One of the most striking differences between the Dark Eldar and their craft world cousins is their refusal to use psychic powers. This abstinence stems from the potential dangers associated with channeling the warp, a chaotic dimension filled with malevolent energies and the entities that dwell within it. To use psychic powers, psykers must tap into the warp's energies, which can be unpredictable and hazardous. The Dark Eldar, in particular, face an even greater risk in doing so, as they are constantly hunted by the chaos god Slaanesh. To avoid attracting the attention of Slaanesh, the Dark Eldar forbid the use of psychic powers within their society. This ban is strictly enforced, as any violation could potentially expose the entire Dark Eldar race to the soul-devouring hunger of Slaanesh. In lieu of psychic powers, the Dark Eldar have honed their physical prowess to astonishing levels, becoming faster, stronger, and more agile than their craft-world kin. They have also developed various technological means to compensate for the lack of psychic abilities, such as sophisticated communication systems, advanced stealth technologies, and powerful energy weapons. Although the Dark Eldar avoid the direct use of psychic powers, they do make use of psychic artifacts and devices. These relics, often dating back to the ancient Eldar Empire, are imbued with psychic energies and can grant various powers and abilities to their wielders. This allows the Dark Eldar to harness psychic energies without directly channeling them, thus circumventing the risks associated with traditional psychic power use. Examples of psychic artifacts used by the Dark Eldar include the Shadow Field, an advanced personal energy shield that cloaks the user in darkness, making them nearly invisible and extremely difficult to target. Another example is the Soul Trap, a device capable of capturing and storing the souls of slain enemies, which can then be used by the Dark Eldar to bolster their own power or prolong their lives. One of the most notable technological advancements of the Dark Eldar is their mastery of anti-gravity technology. This expertise enables them to construct a wide range of vehicles and devices that defy the laws of gravity. Examples of such technology include their skimmers, such as raiders and venoms, which serve as troop transports and attack craft. These skimmers are capable of traversing various terrains and rapidly deploying troops in battle, providing the Dark Eldar with a significant tactical advantage. Hellions, the airborne warriors of the Dark Eldar, also make use of anti-gravity devices known as Hellglaves. These skyboards allow Hellions to perform aerial acrobatics and engage in combat from above, striking fear into the hearts of their enemies. Dark Eldar weaponry is both advanced and deadly, with dark matter weaponry being a prime example. Dark matter weapons, such as the Dark Lance and the Disintegrator Cannon, unleash devastating energy upon their targets. These weapons are particularly effective against heavily armored foes and vehicles, as they can penetrate even the toughest armor with ease. Dark Eldar also employ splinter weapons, which fire shards of toxic crystal capable of causing extreme pain and rapid death. These weapons come in various forms, from the standard issue splinter rifle to the more specialized splinter cannon and shard carbine. Drukhari make use of nanotechnology in a variety of applications, from the construction of their war gear to the enhancement of their own physical abilities. One of the most notable uses of nanotechnology is found in the creation of the pain engines utilized by the Haemonculi Covens. Pain engines, such as the Talos and the Chronos, are nightmarish constructs powered by the agony of their victims. These machines are built using nanotechnology, allowing them to regenerate damaged components and adapt to enemy attacks. The use of nanotechnology also extends to the Dark Eldar's personal equipment, with many warriors incorporating nano-enhancements into their armor and weapons to improve their performance on the battlefield. The Dark Eldar military is a highly organized and efficient fighting force that relies on speed, cunning, and ruthlessness to strike fear into the hearts of their enemies. Their raiding parties are primarily composed of Kabalite warriors, highly trained soldiers armed with an array of advanced weapons and protected by powerful energy shields. Supporting the Kabalite warriors are the Wych Cults, deadly gladiators who have honed their skills in the brutal arenas of Commoragh. Wyches are masters of close combat and acrobatics, often wielding exotic weapons designed to inflict pain and suffering on their victims. They are highly valued for their ability to swiftly eliminate key targets and terrorize enemy forces with their unmatched agility and ferocity. In addition to the Wyches, the Dark Eldar also field the grotesque creations of the Haemonculi Covens. These twisted monstrosities are the products of the Haemonculi's mastery of flesh crafting and torture, reshaped into horrifying living weapons that serve their creators' sinister purposes. Ranging from grotesque, multi-limbed beasts to nightmarish, living engines of war, these creatures are unleashed upon the battlefield to sow chaos and destruction among the enemy ranks. The Dark Eldar fleet is a force to be reckoned with in the Void, employing advanced anti-gravity technology, dark matter weaponry, and sophisticated stealth systems to strike from the shadows with lethal precision. Their ships are often sleek, agile, and deadly, designed for hit-and-run tactics and lightning-fast raids. Drukhari vessels are typically equipped with advanced energy weapons capable of tearing through enemy hulls and shields, as well as an array of torpedoes and boarding craft for capturing enemy vessels and taking slaves. The Dark Eldar fleet is expertly coordinated, with each ship and crew operating in perfect harmony to ensure maximum efficiency and lethality in combat. The long millennia of Vect's rule were far from peaceful, as the denizens of Commoragh were constantly embroiled in feuds and power struggles. However, one particular invasion would forever be etched in the memory of the Dark City's inhabitants. It began when a massive force of orcs, led by the cunning Warboss and Weirdboy Zoggit, breached the hidden pathways of the Webway and emerged in the Commoragh port of Blackblood. As the hordes of green skins spilled into the city, panic and chaos erupted in the streets, with Dark Eldar fighting desperately to stem the tide of destruction. With the city under siege, Vect was forced to marshal the disparate Kabals and Wych Cults to mount a coordinated defense against the invaders. As the battle raged, the Dark Eldar warriors fought with unmatched ferocity, their innate cruelty and bloodlust matched only by the seemingly endless tide of orcs that poured through the rift in the Webway. As the conflict dragged on, it became clear that the Dark Eldar would need to adopt new tactics to overcome the greenskin threat. Vect and his allies devised a plan to isolate and destroy the individual orc mobs, using their superior speed and knowledge of the city's labyrinthine passages to their advantage. As the Dark Eldar forces began to enact their plan, the tide of battle slowly began to turn in their favor. Despite the devastating losses they had already suffered, the Dark Eldar showed no mercy to their enemies. As they pushed the orcs back, they captured thousands of the greenskins alive, intending to use them as fodder for the gladiatorial games that would follow the end of the invasion. In the twisted minds of the Dark Eldar, even in the face of near-total destruction, there was always an opportunity for cruelty and entertainment. After weeks of brutal urban warfare, the Dark Eldar finally managed to eliminate the last of the orc invaders and close the rift in the Webway, ending the invasion. The city of Commoragh lay in ruins, with entire districts reduced to rubble and countless lives lost. Yet, even in the face of such devastation, the Dark Eldar saw opportunity. In the aftermath of the invasion, Vect ordered the captured greenskins to be used in a grand spectacle, pitting them against one another and his own warriors in the blood-soaked Wych arenas. The spectacle served as a chilling reminder of the power and cruelty of the Dark Eldar, as well as a testament to Vect's indomitable will and cunning. Nyos Elithian, the Archon of the Cabal of the White Flames, sought to overthrow the formidable ruler of the Dark City, Asdrubael Vect. To achieve this, Nyos and his conspirators devised a plan to resurrect Eluriak, the long-dead tyrant of Shardom, hoping to use the charismatic figurehead to rally the people of Commoragh against Vect. The master Haemonculi Coven, a skilled artisan in the dark arts of fleshcraft, discovered a way to restore Aeldari's lifeless body. The key lay in the tortured soul of a pure exodite, a valuable prize that was soon captured and put to use. With the resurrection ritual complete, Aeldari rose from the dead, his presence sending shockwaves throughout the Dark City. Aeldari wasted no time in asserting his dominance over Nyos Cabal, using his silver tongue and natural charisma to rally the denizens of Commoragh to his cause. It seemed that the tide was turning against Vect, as more and more Dark Eldar flocked to Aeldari's banner. However, as Aeldari's power grew, Nyos began to notice something was amiss. The resurrected Aeldari possessed not only his old personality and charm, but also newfound psychic powers, a dangerous anomaly in the Dark Eldar society. As Aeldari's influence spread, Nyos uncovered the chilling truth: Aeldari was possessed by a demon, an entity from the warp that had somehow infiltrated the webway during the resurrection. Worse still, the demon sought to bring about a catastrophic disjunction, tearing down the barriers between the warp and Commoragh, and unleashing a tide of ravenous demons upon the city. Desperate to prevent the disaster, Nyos orchestrated a counterplot with the aid of the captive Worldsinger Layin Silkadiath. The Worldsinger unleashed a devastating glass plague upon Aeldari, shattering his body into crystalline shards. Though the tyrant's mortal form was destroyed, the demon within him remained, trapped within the crystalline remains of its host. Bellathonus, ever the resourceful Haemonculi, devised a solution to banish the demon back to the warp. With the detonation of a powerful device, the demon-infested crystal corpse was sucked into the swirling maelstrom of the warp, ending the threat it posed to Commoragh, if for now. The birth of Yvraine, the prophet of Inyad, within the dark recesses of Commoragh unleashed an unforeseen catastrophe. The resulting disjunction destabilized vast swathes of the Dark City and flung wide the doors of Kynez Gate. With his power base under threat, the cunning and ruthless Asdrubael Vect was forced to retreat to his outposts as the city spiraled into anarchy. With Kynez Gate open, demonic incursions became a terrifyingly common sight. Taking advantage of the chaos, Caradruach, the Decapitator, opened a portal to the shadowy realm of the Mandrakes. In doing so, he transformed a vast portion of the city into his own twisted lair. Amid the pandemonium, Wych Cults, Kabals, and Haemonculi Covens fought brutal battles for supremacy, vying for control over the fractured city. As Commoragh stood on the brink of being overrun by the ravenous hordes of demons, Vect orchestrated a desperate counteroffensive. Amassing a massive army led by the fearsome Incubi, he launched a daring assault at Kynez Gate. With his new forces, Vect was able to drive the demons back into the sub-realm containing the now infamous Kynez Gate. This area became severed from the rest of Commoragh and would come to be known as the Chasm of Woe. But the tide of demons was relentless, spilling forth from the numerous abscesses that had formed within the city. Faced with this seemingly insurmountable threat, Vect resorted to drastic measures, plunging entire districts of the city into subdimensions. In doing so, he also consigned countless armies and slaves to the unfathomable horrors that awaited them. But Vect's moment of triumph was short-lived. In the heat of the battle, he was betrayed and cut down by sinister mandrakes serving an enigmatic and unknown master. The supreme overlord of the Dark City had fallen. In the wake of Vect's death, the Harlequins of the Mask of the Veiled Path orchestrated a lavish funeral, attended by numerous Archon friends and foes alike. As the ceremony reached its climax, however, the Harlequins turned on the unsuspecting Archons, slaughtering them in a whirlwind of blood and violence. their blood became the catalyst for a dark miracle, the resurrection of Vect himself. Reborn with a perfect body imbued with new, sinister power, Vect rose from the carnage, more powerful and dangerous than ever before. The prophets of flesh, ever loyal to their master, resurrected many of the fallen archons. Those who had remained faithful to Vect were restored to their former glory, while his enemies were twisted into grotesque abominations, their torment a source of endless amusement and mockery for the newly ascended Dark Muse. In the heart of Commoragh, the Dark City, a secretive and ambitious project was underway. Known as the Black Throne, this powerful device was the result of covert dealings between the Dark Eldar and the Adeptus Mechanicus. A Xeno's reconstruction of the Golden Throne, the Black Throne was designed to control access to the Webway, the labyrinthine network of portals that spans the galaxy. The Dark Eldar hoped that by harnessing the power of the Black Throne, they could bring an end to the demonic invasions and other cataclysmic events that had plagued Commoragh since the formation of the Great Rift. However, like the Golden Throne, the Black Throne required a powerful psyker to operate it. Inquisitor Erasmus Crowell speculated that the Dark Eldar, not being a race of psykers themselves, would create a twisted clone of the Emperor to serve this purpose. As the Black Throne project neared completion, fate intervened in the form of Erasmus Crowell, his retinue, and the custodian Navradaran. Through a daring raid, they infiltrated the Mechanicum's hidden dealings with the Dark Eldar. In the chaos that ensued, many of the Xenos working on the Black Throne were killed, and the facilities associated with the project were laid to waste. Even more devastating to the Dark Eldar's ambitions, the genetic samples provided by fabricator General Udi Araskian, intended for the cloning of the Emperor, were destroyed. The fate of the Black Throne project now hangs in the balance. With their plans in shambles and their allies' trust shattered, the Dark Eldar must scramble to salvage what they can from the ashes of their ambition. As they toil in secrecy, the future of the Black Throne remains uncertain, a testament to the relentless machinations that drive the denizens of Commoragh in their endless pursuit of power. With his position now unassailable, Vect set his sights on the last remaining threat to his dominion, Yvraine herself. In a bid to eliminate the prophet of Inead and her growing influence, Vect ignited the Dark Eldar civil war, a brutal and unforgiving conflict that would reshape the landscape of Commoragh and determine the fate of its people. Rather than openly attacking the prophets of Inead, Vect employs a more subtle approach, pulling the strings behind the scenes and pitting various factions within Commoragh against one another. Unbeknownst to them, many Kabals find themselves waging brutal battles against pro-Inari forces, all at Vect's secret command. One such instance saw the Cabal of the Lords of Ironthorn ruthlessly eradicate the Cabal of Poisoned Hope. To further fuel the conflict, Vect places bounties on Yvraine and her followers, inciting hordes of assassins and bounty hunters to scour the Dark City for their prey. But in truth, the Dark Eldar need little encouragement to turn on each other. Their inherent bloodlust and propensity for betrayal make them all too eager to engage in such violent struggles. Despite Vect's machinations, the Inari have managed to secure and fortify entire subrealms within Commoragh. Now separate enclaves in their own right, these strongholds stand as bastions of Inari influence amidst the tempestuous landscape of the Dark City. As the battles continue to rage on, Commoragh finds itself locked in a deadly power struggle between Vect and the Inari. With each new act of violence, the Dark City grows ever more chaotic and fractured, its future uncertain as the forces of the Supreme Overlord and the Inari fight for supremacy. In this shadowy realm of treachery and deception, only the most cunning and ruthless will ultimately prevail.